So, my name is Rebecca and I'm from Google. I work on Daydream, which is VR and AR, with my colleague Ran, who you may have heard earlier. So my perspective is as a designer, working at a big tech company and trying to think through how we, from the inside, can draft ethical principles and what that looks like. So if you know anything about designers, we love process, so this is definitely a process talk. Just want to give you a heads up. I work on a product called Google Expeditions, and it's virtual field trips for the classroom. So what we do is we get to bring cardboards into the classroom for kids and show them amazing things. So when I'm looking at my user research, I get to see kids like this, which is super exciting for me. And this is what he's looking at. He's looking at an experience of the Coliseum where he really feels like he can be there, and it's transportative for him. And if you heard some of the previous talks about VR and AR, AR is the other side of the immersive technology coin. You can make abstract concepts concrete, like the DNA over here. You can do fun effects, like having this lion appear in your space and then react to the light. Or you can do things like with Google Lens, you can lens your environment and find out interesting things about the world around you. So really, immersive technology is filled with possibilities and incredibly expansive. Just imagine looking at a night sky and being able to learn everything about it to really feel like you're there, or when you are there, learning more about the place that you are. But this expansive world also has some dangers. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Ready Player One. It's a movie a lot of people in tech talk about. This is Nolan Sorrento. He's talking about a future he imagines for VR that's covered in ads. So I don't know if you can tell, but this is the bad guy. And this is the potential downfall of thinking, creating a future in immersive technology where you're not thinking through some ethical implications. So why do we need to think about ethics when we're working on augmented and virtual reality? Think about this as the time before, when cell phones were first emerging, before there were apps to say how long you'd been on your cell phone, or space travel before we had filled the universe with garbage. This is a time when we are actually creating alternate realities. We are creating a picture of the world that can stand next to the existing picture of the world. So it's really on us to create an alternate reality that's inclusive and that's not filled with garbage. So some examples of emerging technologies, immersive and AI and similar technologies, and some downfalls when very well-intentioned product creators aren't thinking through the implications. So we have face filters that could be used for offensive reasons, algorithms that may favor male candidates, automatic soap dispensers whose sensors don't recognize darker skin, and airbrushing apps on social media that can be used to sell diet and beauty products. So when we were starting out to think about how we could draft some ethical principles within Google for immersive technology, we started over here on the shiniest and the lowest effort, as you tend to. Creating a set of principles, an optimistic vision. These are things that we can move towards, that are positive, that get people really excited to be thinking about ethics in the areas that they're working in. But then the second piece I'm also going to talk about, which is the other side of the coin, thinking through the negative things that could happen. What is a process to prevent the negative things from happening? And then the final piece, which is, this is a hard road, so everybody needs to be an evangelist. These are individual humans who are trying to push the ball forward. Don't think about it as just a huge company. It's made up of people. So when we're thinking through how to actually make the impact on the organization, we have to think about what the product development cycle is actually like. These are a lot of phrases that get tossed around a lot within tech. Creating a frictionless experience, going with your gut, creating an MVP and launching quickly. But when we're saying you have to create some principles and abide by those principles, what we're saying is you have to slow down the process. And that's really hard to say to people who are in product. Instead of creating a frictionless experience, maybe we need users to stop and think before they share something on social media or create something in an immersive environment. Instead of going with your gut, maybe you need to hear more voices. And instead of an MVP, often you talk about edge cases in MVP. We'll worry about the edge cases after we launch. Think about them not as edge cases, but as underrepresented cases. So in the first category of the immersive ethical principles that are positive and something you can sit there and think, oh, that's the world I want to be creating, we want to talk about how these environments can be safe, how common spaces can be protected, how human connection can actually be enhanced through empathy and other ways, and how we can actually create a more inclusive world. Our alternate reality could be more inclusive, where, for instance, everyone can telecommute from their desk and nobody has to move to a new location, or anyone who has any trouble getting to work for any reason doesn't have to deal with that situation. But then, once you have this amazing future, what happens if that audience grows? What happens if the product expands to a new market? Maybe your product was doing great on this ethical checklist, but now you're starting to move along the road. What happens if it gets into the hands of a bad actor? Or what if it's simply a naive actor? So what we've started to do is putting together a process internally. We started with misuse user journeys. If anyone's familiar with product development, then you have core user journeys. You think about what your users are going to do with the product and how they move along the path. Well, we're suggesting you also think about how someone could misuse the product, how a bad actor or someone who just doesn't really understand the product could fall into a path of misuse and potentially abuse. And then we also have workshops. So going around to different groups within the company to talk about the principles, to talk about the processes, the misuse user journeys, and how they can implement those. And then having checkpoints in official product reviews, making sure that at the end of the road there is some place where someone is looking back to the principles and making sure that all the products align. And finally, I like to think about Anil Dash a lot. He wrote a really great essay called 12 Things People Should Understand About Tech. And we really do have to think that these people are individuals. Most people in tech sincerely want to do good. And as we, as individual evangelists, are trying to push up that hill, we have to remember that we're not pushing against people, we're pushing against the status quo. And so most of those actual individuals, they want to create ethical products and ethical experiences for users, so we have to really partner with them and help them get there. So I want to thank you for sitting here through this talk, but also just thank you because everyone here is already an evangelist, and you can go back to wherever company you're from and you can be that person who's pushing that up the hill. Thank you.